Welcome and good evening. If you'll please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you again for joining us this evening for our regular school board directors meeting. At this time, we will start with our land acknowledgement, and Director Witherspoon has that for us this evening.
Evergreen Public Schools resides on the traditional lands of the Chinookan peoples and the Cowlitz tribe. They have lived on and cared for this land and its waterways since time immemorial. We thank them for their stewardship and make this acknowledgement to open a space of recognition, inclusion, and respect for all Indigenous students, families, and staff in our community.
Thank you. All right, the first order of business on our agenda this evening is to adopt our agenda, so we'll entertain a motion for that.
I move to adopt tonight's agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Perfect, thank you. All right, next up is special recognition. I'm so glad it's still March because it's Music in Our Schools Month, and last board meeting we got a great presentation, and we are in for a treat again tonight. So I'm going to introduce Corinne Ormson, who's going to come and talk about who's performing this evening. Hi, Corinne.
Good evening, members of the board and Superintendent Boyd. Thank you for having us here again. We love having two meetings in March because we get to come perform for you twice. So we're really excited to be here. We're honored tonight to have the Union Chamber Choir. All of the students that are in this choir won either as soloists or as part of ensembles, won first place going to solo and ensemble at the state level at the end of April. So we're really excited about that. And Evergreen groups from across all of our high schools won 37 of the 43 categories overall for our region. So we're pretty proud of that. So we'll bring that up. Once they get settled, we're going to have Talmadge introduce the two songs that they'll be singing for you tonight.
Did Union perform last year? Did they perform last year?
We will be singing two pieces for you, Flight Song by Kim Andre Arneson and Leron Leron Cinta, arranged by Sandra Choi. Leron Leron Cinta is a traditional Filipino folk song sung in Tagalog and is regarded as a popular lullaby or children's song while having its roots as a courting song or a song to represent those who work in the fields picking fruit.
Thank you. I know that the board probably has some questions or wants to make some comments.
That was just spectacular. It was just amazing. How many of you are seniors? Wow. How many of you plan to continue singing after high school? Wow. Thank you for coming. It was amazing.
Never stop singing. I could not tell, listening to each of your sections, it was one voice. I could not tell who was singing because you were all singing, and the unity was so evident. And it was beautiful, like Jackie said. I'm just kind of speechless again, you know?
I know, you guys are magnificent. I can see why you're winning all these awards. I mean, you're obviously like professionals. I was getting goosebumps. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so glad that you've had this experience while you've been in our schools. So, congratulations.
Congratulations, well done.
Congratulations.
Every time the union comes in to sing, your teacher over there, he's got it easy because you guys are all so well polished and know exactly what to do. You know, right? He's all the work's been done, and now they get to this point, and you can just enjoy it, right? Thank you.
Thank you guys very
you for
much.
coming.
You're amazing. Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda is our board consent agenda. So we'll entertain a motion for approval.
I move to approve tonight's board consent agenda.
Second?
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to our superintendent consent agenda. Same thing, we'll entertain a motion for approval.
I move adoption of the superintendent's consent agenda as presented.
Seconded?
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Great, thank you. All right, next up is our superintendent report. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Superintendent Boyd for an update.
Yeah, thank you. And I will cede my time to the good, so that we have time to listen to the good people who have come to speak today.
All right, thank you. All right, next up is a presentation, asset preservation. Sue Steinbrenner, I believe, is going to come up and give us a presentation. Hi, Sue.
Thank you. My little mouse isn't working. There we go. Let's see. Do you know how to make it full size? You just want to present it? Yeah. My little mouse isn't working very well. Here we go, thank you. That one, okay, great. Good evening, Board and Superintendent Boyd. I'm here tonight to present on our asset preservation program, which is really managing the district's facilities in a safe and healthy manner. And we're not eligible for school construction assistance if we don't manage our buildings. So we passed the policy, I think, in 2008. And just to remind you, the asset preservation program replaces what used to be known as the 2% rule. So you had to put 2% of your general fund in your buildings in order to be eligible for SCAP. So a lot of districts weren't investing in their buildings, and then right before they were ready to replace it, they poured a bunch of money in it to show that they put money into the building. So they changed this, and the chart on the right kind of shows you a sample depreciation. Our buildings will last much longer than 30 years. I think our oldest building in the district right now is 50 years old, and that would be Silver Star. Anyway, as you go out in time, the building starts to depreciate. So what you'll see in this report is the scores of how well we're taking care of our facilities. And then also we'll report on the building condition score and just give you an update on kind of the age and condition of our buildings. Every 6 years, we have to have a certified evaluator come in and take a look at our buildings in depth. That will be in 2024. So Nicole will be off the hook next year. She'll have an evaluator come in and they'll make the presentation to the board. So if you look at the chart, if you go out, and you'll see in the scores, if you go out 18 or 19 years, you should be in that, 80, mid-80s to 90 range. This chart shows us an example of the pre-bond and after-bond, kind of our building inventory, showing in the orange a lot of newer buildings. So this is just elementary and secondary. I left out all of the alternative schools and the support buildings just to make it kind of simple, but those follow a similar trend with the replacement of ASC and transportation, and also the legacy Hollingsworth Archway. I left those out to make it nice and clean. But you can see on the elementary on the left from the 50s was Mill Plain and Sifton. Marion was 60s. That little bump down in the 70s is the 40,000 square feet we're replacing at Burton. So you can see that 80s and 90s and 2000 and 2010, we haven't changed those. We haven't replaced any of those buildings. And then to the far right, that represents the 7 new elementary schools. So it's nice to see that our buildings are newer, which is thank you for putting the bond together and passing that. Same thing on the right. It's a little bit less drastic. The 70s is Y East, 1980 is Mountain View. We added on to Heritage, so that shows in the 2020, but you can see that the 2000, that's Cascade, Covington, Evergreen, and the remodel at Evergreen and Union. So those were all part of the 2002 bond. This is your scores that you can see. I don't know quite how they sorted. It's not by age or building or alphabetical, but those are some of the scores. You won't see Y East, Mountain View, or Burton in there. They don't start, the clock doesn't start ticking until the board accepts those, and we're still in the closeout process to get a couple of things wrapped up on those. So like I said, I'm not sure why that one BCA certification says 2019. You can't change the report in OSPI, but storage buildings don't count toward preservation anyway, so that one really shouldn't be in there. But just kind of as an example, if you go down and look at Chehalis, 20 years old, its scores 89.96. So we're right in line with where we should be. In fact, if not, we're a little bit, I would say a little bit above the curve. And the reason we are above the curve, I just wanted to kind of give you an example of some of the projects that we've done since passing the bond. And I can get you all kinds of detail and breakdown. I tried to keep it simple. The biggest one, the biggest expenditure is that green on the left-hand side, just under $40 million for grounds and site. The bulk of that is track and field, converting our high schools to synthetic turf, which I think has been was a good move. There's about $4 million in covered play areas that we added to some of our secondary schools. Gila will be getting one this summer. When we did our analysis, we realized that the prototypical model from like York on only had a 2,200 square foot covered play, so we added one at each of those schools. There is some parking lot work in there for about $3 million, playgrounds, drainage, a whole assortment of projects. The track and field number also includes replacement of running tracks. So moving up to the upper right, that kind of darker blue, 19 million is all of our exterior envelope. The bulk of that is roofing replacements, about 17 million on roofing, and then the rest is painting and masonry sealer that we want to keep up to keep water from getting into our buildings. The next one, the 7,650,000, that's all of our interior work. Most of that is flooring and painting and just kind of freshening up the inside. Then we move down to mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. Our second biggest number at 36 million, the bulk of that is HVAC systems. And we've upgraded to MERV 13, so better filtration in our buildings, better efficiency energy-wise, and better ability to control them. There's also in that number, in the MEP number, a lot of safety is in there, about 3 million in safety, just with cameras, access control, some of those parts of the secure entrances end up in there. Technology is also a big chunk with our about 7 million of tech in terms of clocks, bells, and intercoms, audio enhancement in the classrooms, those kind of features that make a better learning environment. It's interesting because so much stuff has moved to IP-based now, so it's kind of a different, now it's all cloud-based. So instead of having the technicians go out to the site on daylight savings and manually change everything, it's all done in the cloud. So it's a much more user-friendly for people who know how to use the technology. The 9 million is equipment, and I don't know if Corinne's still here, but a lot of that was musical instruments. Music, a lot of it is furniture as well. Have been replacing a lot of our classroom furniture to a more flexible learning environment, the ability to have choice and voice over the furniture that you sit in rather than just everyone gets the same standard chair. The last one, the 7.3 million, those are special projects that were all part of the bond. They are not really capital renewal because they were more a building improvement, but we roll them all into one. Things like we upgraded the finishes in the locker room at McKenzie and did some warehouse, made sure the racks were all seismically upgraded. That Home Choice is a big bulk of that number, just under 3 million to go in and freshen up Home Choice and add another classroom and the outdoor play area. That's all included in that number. We did some other smaller things like weight room upgrade at Evergreen High School. So those are a lot of smaller projects. So that's part of what contributes to those scores being as high as they are. Those scores match up with all of our projects that we're doing, and we can tell how much each one cost and kind of keep us in line with where we need to be in terms of asset preservation. The last question, do you guys have any questions?
I just have a quick clarification. If I'm in the audience today and wondering why we're spending so much money on our facilities when we're reducing our employees, can you help us understand?
Yes, and I meant to put that in there. I'm glad you reminded me. So the bond, the capital projects fund, cannot be used for the general fund. In fact, I was kind of thinking about our budget and all of the work, so close to 900,000 square feet of inventory that we've replaced. The bond was 695 million, but by the time you get state match and impact fees and all the other bumps, it's over 800 million. And I think how much energy has gone into this work in 5 years, that's about 2 years of our general fund. So you can't, by law, you can't use the capital projects fund to cover general fund expense unless they're directly related to a capital project. So thank you for asking that.
It's kind of amazing, that chart that showed our scores, because I can remember when I first got on the board, our scores were really, really low. We had aging schools, the ones that were built in the 50s, 60s, that, and without passing that bond in 2018, we would be really looking at some real issues.
Mm-hmm.
So, thanks to our community for helping us pass that bond at that time, because it's really amazing what we've been able to do throughout the district with that money in 5 years. How many new schools in 5 years?
Oh, don't make me count. 7 elementaries, Mountain View, Y East, Heritage Edition, ASC, Transportation, Legacy, Hollingsworth. It's a lot.
Does that include the Mill Plain, how we added that on?
I included Mill Plain in that one.
Because that wasn't even the original plan. It was that we had enough
Right.
money because of the great work that you've done with budgeting and making sure that that all of our projects were budgeted,
Right.
under budget, and on time,
Right.
that we were able to do that
I think
extra school.
The other thing is we've come a long ways from in the last 20 years in terms of just construction with our guiding principles and the work of Clarissa and her team. We have equity and inclusion is one of the things that we look at when we do new projects. We look at safety and security. We look at sustainability and resiliency, the EV infrastructure at transportation to future-proof. You know, obviously we're about teaching and learning, so we did pilots with flexible learning environments and got feedback on what things we should be implementing. Community engagement is the other piece. So I feel like it's more than just nuts and bolts construction work. It's been very collaborative with a lot of different people that had put energy into making this work successful.
I think it's really shown in the way that you and RNC put together advisory groups to talk through, I think it was starting back at the architecture, right? The architecture and the proposals, before it was brought to us, was brought to, if I'm recalling it right, students and
Yep.
parents and the staff who would be working in them to advise you. And
Yep.
taking that kind of input is so vital.
Yep.
Appreciate that you
Yeah,
did that.
stakeholder engagement was really important. So, any other questions?
Well, don't go away too quick, Sue, because we hear that this is your last meeting with us.
I thought I would get away with
No,
not
no,
saying
no,
that.
no. You have done an amazing job, and we
Oh,
absolutely
thank
could not
you.
have done the work of this bond without you. It's incredible if you think about the work that's got done. What a legacy to leave, Sue.
Thank you.
We
You
appreciate you
guys.
very much.
Yeah, you've been masterful in all this.
Thank you. It truly took an army, and I get all the credit, but it really was a whole bunch of people, a lot of people that are here that, like, I owe Jamal 5 signs out at Union. I don't forget those things. I'll probably wake up in May and think, oh, did he get his signs? So thank you very much. You guys
Takes
have
an
been a
army, but
great
an
board.
incredible general. You've led exceptionally well. You helped from the beginning of the passing of the bond, getting the team together to do that, and all of these 900, almost $800 million worth of projects on time, below budget, so we can do extra stuff. Unbelievable, Sue. You were amazing.
And it's
Thank
a
you.
legacy to the community. I mean, the amount of money that went into our community's economy off of these projects, and because we were able to maximize the funds that the community authorized for us, is huge. And I just, you know, I work in this industry, as you know, and so you are a master at this. And it's been a pleasure working with you and watching how you manage these big projects, and you just never seem flustered, unless you're doing it behind closed doors somewhere. But no,
I
you're-
don't get flustered too often.
you really are a steady force that has pulled off a pretty big feat with this project,
Thank
these
you.
projects.
I'd like to think I'm really smart, but we got really lucky on the timing with COVID. And
You're
there
smart.
were a lot of things that went into it. So thank you very much, you guys. All righty, thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is department update, teaching and learning, but I think we're going to bypass that from the agenda. Is that correct? Yes, I'm getting a nod. So we're going to go ahead and call up Craig Birnbach for the good news report. Hi, Craig.
Tough act to follow in following Sue, so she would definitely be missed. Thank you, Board, and thank you, Superintendent Boyd, for the privilege to share the good news from around our district. I'm going to start with kind of a tradition returning with Read Across America Week, a partnership with Beaches Restaurant that's been for many, many years. Due to COVID, we weren't able to have the in-person celebration, which includes a breakfast from Beaches. We were giving the books every year to first graders, but this year all 22 of our elementary schools, first graders celebrated reading by, first they got a book courtesy of the Evergreen School District Foundation and Amera Group, which was the book sponsor, and then Beaches Showed up at all 22 of our elementary schools, and you can see from the pictures, they appropriately with their name beaches. It was a beach experience with sunglasses and leis. This year, we also were able to, because Burton is now right there with Home Choice Academy, the Home Choice Academy kids were allowed to have an experience at Burton. So we thank Burton for celebrating with them. I want to talk about Frontier Middle School, students there in a partnership with the City of Vancouver. They planted 20 trees outside their campus, so they'll have a legacy there to come back and see those. Chehalis Middle School, I was lucky enough to attend this event and their first unified basketball game. We have both a video story and pictures that hopefully tell the story of this wonderful event. At Chehalis, they began with a unified PE class last year, at the end of last year. And so kids, students in special education and students in general education are in this PE class where they have also prepared for this basketball game where they start a unified team. And this was a great event. The entire school was there, cheerleaders, packed house. I encourage everybody to watch this story and be motivated by Chehalis' whole school community. At Crestline Elementary School, this month they had a family Hispanic night. And as you can see, Superintendent Boyd and his wife attended and got to meet some of the families there. But it was a huge success, wonderful night there. I want to skip down, finally honor one of our great employees over at Heritage High School. Sean Perez, a DECA advisor. She won for the whole state of Washington. Sean Perez was the advisor of the year. So I've been lucky enough to talk with Sean many times, and her DECA group really getting it done. So congratulations to her. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. All right, next on our agenda is public comments. Any community member wishing to address the board may do so during the designated time on the agenda for public comments, as long as the comments are not personnel related or about an individual employee or student and are not legal in nature. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes to address the board. Comments are to be directed to the board of directors as a whole. It may not be addressed to any individual member of the board, the administrative staff, or the audience. Please state your name and district affiliation, if any, when you come up to the podium. Just a reminder that each person speaking has 3 minutes. There will be a timer on the board, and just try to keep your comments under 3 minutes. So we'll go ahead and get started. I believe we have somebody that's online that has signed up. Lucas Horowitz. Hi, Lucas, can you hear us?
Hi there. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me all right?
We sure can. Welcome.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Lucas Horowitz, and I am here to plead my case to the board to rescind the recommendation of the budget cuts on the 4 athletic directors. I'm a graduate of the class of 2020 from Union High School, where I played baseball, managed the girls' soccer team, and was around all the sports. I am currently a junior at the University of Washington studying education with a focus in youth development through sport and getting ready to pursue a master's in intercollegiate athletics and leadership. At the UW, I have worked with the football team for 3 years now and have gotten to build relationships with coaches, administrators, and even the athletic director, Jen Cohen. I have also had a chance through my studies to build relationships with some of the most highly touted professors in the nation. 2 in particular expressed their disappointment when I explained the situation to them. The first is Dr. Hannah Olson. Dr. Olson is the director of the Center of Leadership and Athletics at the UW and has spent her entire life studying youth development through sport. She told me that she would emphasize 2 points to the board. One is that coaches need intentional support, oversight, and training. They are already underpaid and overworked, and removing yet another piece of the support system is detrimental and will lead to higher levels of burnout, stress, and qualified leaders leaving the coaching space. We know from research that coaches are the linchpin to the positive outcomes that sports can provide, and a decision to remove their support is a decision to negatively impact students. The other point is that mental health challenges for youth are incredibly prevalent, and athletics and physical activity can be a prescription and a solution for this. and athletic directors can be the strategic advisors to connect school infrastructure to positive student outcomes and support. We should be putting more resources into this space instead of pulling away, especially after COVID. The second professor is Jennifer Peterson. Jennifer works in the center with Dr. Olson and is a former athletic director at Franklin High School up in Seattle. She dittoed what Dr. Olson said and added the aspect of liability risk. She mentioned that there are actually districts within our state who have tried cutting athletic directors to address budget cuts and are now reinstating or have already reinstated this critical role due to liability risk and exposure for the schools and district. In her experience as a high school athletic director, she found that most school administrators are not equipped to serve as athletic directors, as many are not interested due to the additional responsibilities, risk management involved, and specific expertise required of the role. I'm putting so much effort towards this because my heart aches. My heart aches not just for me, not for any of the board members, not for those that may be out of a job, but for the thousands of students that you will directly be hurting if you choose to pass this recommendation. Your words don't mean as much as your actions, and I really hope you can put the needs of the kids before your own and make the right decision. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Lucas. All right, next up to speak is Rochelle Amos. Rochelle? Hi, Rochelle.
Hello. My name is Rochelle Amos, community member, district employee, and president of the Office Clerical Chapter. I stand here first and foremost as an advocate for our students. We are being told those proposed enrollment decline cuts are being made in a way that least impacts our students, which is simply not true. It also violates the board's own policies and beliefs, like OE3, community stakeholder relationships. The superintendent should maintain an organizational culture that engages parents and citizens. Policies also state communication with community and employees. This is simply not happening. I would suggest Superintendent Boyd have interactive forums with the community and its employees as stated in district policies. Cutting classified positions, let's start with 12 secretaries at the high school level. Secretaries are not only the face, but literally the front line of the school. They'll be the first point of contact with students and parents. How do we disperse the work of 3 secretaries in a high school? Every cut directly affects student relationships, whether it's librarians, FRCs, at-risk advocates, paraeducators, athletic directors. All of these people change student lives every day. If these cuts all result from enrollment decline, where are the cuts at the district office for enrollment decline? We all know that they have increased employees, not decreased. Managers are now directors with their own managers. Seriously? And as I'm reading this statement, the superintendent on behalf of the board has met with and provided EFA, EAA, PSEs with the financial status of the district, showing the need to lay off staff and the process utilized in making this decision. Well, when we had that meeting, cuts were supposed to be done equally, not by all of us, but by some of you guys at the district office, which I don't see happening. And as a taxpayer in this community, and I'm very passionate about this, as you can probably tell, these proposed cuts do not appear to be fiscally responsible and are not living up to what we were sold if we pass the levy. I'm still perplexed why, at a time of $19 million shortfalls, we are going to move an admin into an athletic director position and pay them $30,000 more a year times 4 high schools. That's $120,000 a year, totaling $1.25 million over 10 years. How is this fiscally responsible to taxpayers in this district? You are literally creating a position that is costing the district more money and gutting the athletic program. Let's see how that's been working for our neighboring districts. It's not, and they also don't have deans of students. How about enrollment decline in new construction? We literally have 286 students currently enrolled at Mill Plain Elementary, and this school is under new construction. Why are we continuing to build new schools when we have significant enrollment declines? We currently have 7 elementary schools under 400 students, 3 with barely 300 students. Why are we not taking one of those schools and making it an alternative high school, as our alternative high school only houses 125 students? We may have many students waiting to get into alternative programs. Let's get creative.
Thank you,
Okay?
Rochelle.
Good luck getting any taxpayers in this district to vote for a levy or bond. Oh, don't forget the 3 superintendents we paid off.
All right, thank you, Rochelle. All right, next up to speak is Paul Porter. Paul Porter, you're up next. Thank you.
As you can tell, Evergreen's in the house today. Appreciate y'all. Policy OE-1 of the operational expectations of the Evergreen School District states, the superintendent shall not cause, allow, fail, or endanger the district's public image or credibility. Well, I have a room full of BIPOC students that say that's not going very well. Every day I wake up to news alerting us that a new tragedy has taken place. This morning, 3 students killed in Nashville by a gunman who was a former student. Yesterday, an admin in Gresham arrested for sex trafficking. A few days before that, a young woman of color and her child murdered, whose family goes to Evergreen. And the list goes on and on, every single day. The further we examine your proposal, the more clear it becomes that you are hiding behind the words of equity and inclusion, instead of putting action behind them to support your students and community. In the Evergreen School District, there are 4,000 employees, and these are the 140 positions you choose to cut? The mythical strategic plan that nobody seems to know about sounds more like a strategic war to defund diversity. My whole life has been an uphill battle against injustice, as well as my grandfather's and his father, whose mother was a slave before that. From adolescence, when I couldn't properly articulate racism taking place in the world around me. From microaggressions surrounding our students to macroaggressions their families have to deal with on a daily basis. But never in my wildest dreams did I think I would have to stand on a podium explaining this to a school board that's supposed to be representing our community. Shame. Shame on you for letting it come to this point. For not sending back one response, letting the community know that you have not made a decision yet. The sum of the top 20 salaries in the district account for $4 million alone. Out of 4,000 employees, 20 account for $4 million alone. And that's without raises they accepted this year, while knowing budget cuts were coming. Where's the budget cut for enrollment decline for them? Or was that decided through this equity lens that we're talking about? As you can see, the people in charge of this district are crippling our community, perpetuating a cycle that will only increase the poverty, as well as the school-to-prison pipeline, accepting raises while telling us they have hard decisions to make. Shame. Shame on all you guys. But thank you to the school board. Your job is to do the checks and balances, but for the past 6 years, all I hear is that you've seen this coming, but failed to do the math. This sounds like complete incompetence to me. But thank you for alerting the student body in our community so that we can do your job and solve the problem. We are coming for every single seat on that board, one by one. Because with the suicide and drug alcohol abuse at an all-time high and attendance at an all-time low, is it really time to get rid of these positions that directly impact children? Just in case you were confused, the answer is no. If anything, it's time to get rid of the all-time high salaries that's not included in this budget cut. I'll leave you with this. My grandmother used to say, tell the truth and shame the devil. I say, tell the truth and save the youth. You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, next up is it Leona Williams? Are you Leona?
Hi, my name is Tara Wolf, And I went to Mountain View and was a TA in the library my freshman and senior years. And now I'm volunteering there twice a week. I process the new books that were ordered, and as I do, I'm seeing all different types of genres, authors, and things like that. There have been some books I would never have known about or read and liked very much unless I had been doing what I'm doing now. If there's no more librarians, how are you going to know which books kids are going to like or want to read, or how are you even going to order them? The librarians listen to what the kids are interested in, and they try to get those kinds of books for them, specifically types of authors and such. So how are you going to be able to do that if you take away the teacher librarians? Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to make sure, is it Leona? Oh, okay. I just want to make sure because you got.
Thank you. And I want to thank the board for giving me an email back after I wrote about the situation that's occurring with the budget cuts and the student unenrollment and enrollment issue decline towards this. So my name is Leona Williams, and I am an 11th grade African American student of the Evergreen School District. I did do online school through Legacy, but I struggled with hardships through the new year and the holiday season, and I decided it was time for me to go to Evergreen High School and get help there. As I attended school daily, I found the importance of community relations and the need for support around me. Many teachers and educators have made me feel capable of accomplishing my goals of going to Cornell University to attain a bachelor's in enology, with plans to open a winery and soon become a Black business owner. With an African American population as few as 2.3%, as per the census of July 22 for Vancouver, Washington, the Black Student Union has been beyond important to my success in feeling incorporated and capable of everything my other peers of other racial makeups may be. Paul Porter is an example of Black success for the BSU of Evergreen High School and has made us feel special and show us that we can be leaders. Educators, such as the removal of educators who impact everyday life of stressed teenagers is harmful and unnecessary to the young developing mind. The top salary for Evergreen School District as per 2022 was $352,000. Our average is $66,000 per year. That is a 433% increase, and that is absolutely unnecessary to take from the bottom when we can level this all out. This will further a butterfly effect of student decline and unenrollment, and that's just not the solution to this problem that we're facing. I'll be graduating from Evergreen High School 2024, and I want the same people who believed in me to be there as I walk the stage. This is an attack on the African American community of Evergreen High School, and I ask that the board realizes that this is not the solution, and this is a drastic change that is unwelcoming to their students supporting this district, as our opinions matter, and will create an environment inclusive for all. I want to thank you guys for listening to me today, and will consider my decision.
Thank you for coming. All right, next up is Chuck Kepler. Hi, Chuck, welcome.
My name is Chuck Kepler, a longtime member of the community, and I wanted to take this time to address a few things that were mentioned at the last board meeting by the superintendent. There were reasons that were given to us as far as why the budget is so far off and cuts need to be made. The board said while there's been an increase in population around us, that increase was not in the school-age population. And while part of that is true, that our recent population growth has been in the age group over 19, the fact is between 2016 and today, there are over 5,000 more 4 to 18-year-olds in our area. The number of school-age children has grown and continues to grow. It's not an excuse why enrollment is declining. The ESSER funds and the downward trend in enrollment are such poor excuses from leadership because they are things that you should have seen coming. You knew the ESSER funds weren't going to last. You knew that enrollment has been declining since 2016. But all of that has been left, and nothing has been done to prepare for the budget shortfall that would inevitably come. Knowing that we're declining enrollment, the leadership still chose to add an additional elementary school. Currently, with elementary schools built for about 500 students each, there's 10 elementary schools in our district with enrollment under 400 students each. And while there's been a decline in students, teachers, staff, and school admin, the district admin has remained steady over this period. When was the last time that Evergreen School District had enrollment numbers under 23,000 students? Why do we still have the same number of admin as when we had 26,000 students? So I want to give you some data that's available on the National Center for Education Statistics. They track a couple of positions, namely district administrators and district administrator support personnel. Between those two classifications, Evergreen School District has 82 full-time employees for its 39 schools at that district level. The Seattle School District has 90, only 8 more, and they have 109 schools. Lake Washington School District has 54 of these positions with 58 schools. The Vancouver School District, which is the closest to us at 41 schools, a comparable district, has 58 of these positions, a full 24 less. The fact is the school budget is off because we're top heavy, and you don't see it because you're at the top. There are three positions up for election this year on the board, and I hope that other people like myself who would put students first will run for those positions, because I am running for the District 2 position this next November.
Thank you, Chuck. All right, next is Valerie Lindsay. Is that right? Did I say it right? It's Valerie. Welcome.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Valerie Lindsay, and I go to Evergreen High School. I feel like the budget cutting is unfair. You guys don't see what we see in our buildings, and you guys are taking away people that genuinely care about us. Our advocates, secretaries, athletic directors, and librarians truly care, and they are dedicated to their craft and students. Mr. Swain is our athletic director, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even be thinking about college, but he made it possible, even when I made it really difficult. We have a kid at our school who plays football. He has over 12 Division I college offers, and others have offers or some type of college interested in them. And who do you think helps with all of that? Swain does. Without him, a lot of us wouldn't be getting into any schools. Paul, advocate, our Black student union advisor, and also a boys basketball coach. He's also important in our building. He's someone who everyone can vent to, and not just that, he's an outlook for our Black students. When they first started BSU, which is Black Student Union, they had about 4 or 8 kids, and now there's about 40 or 50. We have the biggest BSU in Washington, and that's because of our advocate. They care so much about our futures that they try to help any kinds of way that they can. So why would you take someone away who actually enjoys their job? All I know is without a Swain or Paul at Evergreen, Evergreen wouldn't be Evergreen. They help bring a positive tradition to the school, so I hope you guys consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. All right, Jordan Henderson. Jordan Henderson. Hi, Jordan.
My name is Jordan Henderson. I work at Evergreen High School. I was once a student in Evergreen High School almost a decade ago. I took much pride in being a plainsman opposed to the views of many at the time. A lot of the pride I felt came from some of the relationships I was able to build with a lot of the staff that worked there at the time. My junior year, I had the privilege to have a new young coach join us as part of the staff. As I was excited about this, I never would have imagined he and I would go to build a true friendship for years to come. They used their own experiences to help push me and guide me in the right direction to be the best young man I could potentially be. For years to come after I graduated, he continued to reach out and make sure I was doing what I needed to and was doing the right thing. This meant a lot to me as it showed they really cared about me and my success, even going past graduating from high school. This person was at-risk advocate Paul Porter. Fast forward a few years later, I had the pleasure of meeting AD Athletic Director Christian Swain. I saw firsthand what he was doing for the sports programs at EHS. What he's been able to accomplish in his time as an AD has been nothing short of outstanding. The culture, not just in sports, but in the overall school, has changed dramatically for the positive since I've left, and it motivated me to even become a coach for the basketball program as well. Being able to be around that culture and doing my best to be a positive influence motivated me to do more for myself too. People like Swain have embraced me from the very beginning and allow me an opportunity to train and be around different kids while I strive to play professional basketball and to show that anything is possible if they put their minds to it. Besides doing that, I decided to give back and dedicate my time to helping others to do the best they can be and be the best version of themselves while working as a paraeducator at Evergreen High School. I now take pride in being one of the very few African American workers, along with the youngest worker at Evergreen High School, and a majority of that wouldn't be possible without people like Paul Porter. Although I myself am a paraeducator and I feel it's a great travesty that many in my position are at risk of losing their jobs, I cannot help but feel crushed and urged to speak out when I heard the news about potentially losing the athletic director and at-risk advocate positions, as I personally know and can see the positive impact and influence that it has on countless students over the years. I don't understand how there can't be easy fixes proposed instead to fix this issue. For instance, not taking 100% away from 140 positions that would greatly impact a large demographic, but from each position, from the top down, to agree to a minimal cut in order to save the proposed cuts. This type of collective thinking is what's needed in order to fix these issues you're trying to propose. I don't think anybody is naive to the fact that losing these positions would negatively impact certain demographics tremendously more than others. I have personally seen the countless sacrifices made time and time again to take time out of each and every day to help others in need. That is what it should be all about at the end of the day. Educators and people who truly care about the well-being of the students and who do all that they can to see them succeed and want to see them do their best, even past high school and into their personal lives. And so I hope you take a look into the room and realize the amount of support here and lives touched in this room by people like these men, including me, and think deeply about this decision before proceeding forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. All right, next up is Matthew Young. Matthew? Is Matthew here? All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to Dublin Wilkins Rainey. Okay. All right. Nara Edmondson? Come on up. Hi there.
My name is Nara.
Oh, Nara. Yeah. Welcome.
Hello, and good evening. My name is Nara Edmondson, and I am a freshman at Evergreen High School. I am a student athlete and a member of BSU, Black Student Union. And today I am here to be heard and ask that you please reconsider this budget cut. Our athletic directors, librarians, secretaries, and our at-risk advocates and others have a big part here in our experiences at Evergreen. They strive every day for their students to come to school, work hard, and achieve their goals. Our advocates love and support every single aspect of every kind of achievement we have in mind. Mr. Porter has been a big part of my high school experience, being a Black young woman who grew up in a majority white community. Being a part of BSU has made me feel like I have a voice and that I am heard. And without Mr. Porter, who will see me, my brothers and sisters, like Mr. Porter does? Will we still have a voice? Will we still be Black Student Union? And without Mr. Porter, who will see us Black students and hear our voices and understand us Black students? I think it's very important for us BSU students to have someone that looks like us to go to. Someone who gets what we go through and has experienced the things that we are now experiencing. Who will us Black students have to go to when we need our voices to be heard? I would also like to mention that Mr. Porter and Coach Swain have made a very big impact on very many students. They guided students to see a better future, and even the ones who never even had the thought of college in mind, and now we see them striving to make the achievements they never thought they could. And I would love to mention that I am now one of the 5th children in my family to attend Evergreen High School, and each and every one of my siblings have graduated and received that help from Coach Swain or Mr. Porter. My brother, Warren Edmondson, who played college basketball at Montana State Northern College, and my brother, Jalen Fight, who is now a freshman at Western Oregon playing college football, and my older sister, Amani Edmondson, who graduated from Washington State University, majoring in business. And lastly, my brother, DJ Edmondson, who had a rough start in each and every one of his classes from graduating from Evergreen High School in 2022 with a 3.5 GPA. And all that with the help from Coach Swain and Mr. Porter and other advocates who fight for us every day to better ourselves, our families, and our futures. And I would love to thank all of our advocates for believing in us and never giving up on us and what we can achieve and teaching us to work hard no matter what. Thank you and have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you. All right, next up is Mindy Cooper. Hi, Mindy.
Follow that. Good evening, Superintendent Boyd and members of our school board. Do no harm. These words have run through my head since these budget cuts were first announced. I know these words are usually reserved for medical professionals, but I think they run in accordance with our work as well. Each of these professions work with our most fragile populations at a time when they are most vulnerable, they in illness and we in education and childhood. Children and families are counting on us as educational professionals to do no harm, to steward them towards a full and equitable education while helping them form and be a part of our community. That is a great responsibility that none of us take lightly. What is the philosophy of do no harm? Do no harm is to avoid exposing people to additional risks through our actions. Do no harm means taking a step back from an intervention to look at the broader context and to mitigate potential negative effects on the social fabric, the economy, and the environment we work and live in. If our numbers are declining and you knew that we were on a COVID cliff with the ESSER funds, I ask you why you have and are still continuing to hire at district office. This is one of the furthest places from our student population and one of the only that you continue to grow and protect. Camas has also had to cut millions of dollars out of their budget, but they have chosen to protect their students by taking 30% of their cuts in their administration budget. If they can make these hard choices, why are you unwilling to do the same? I would ask, when was the last time you worked with a student? When did you last worry and work to feed or house a homeless family? I can honestly tell you our FCRCs and advocates' answers would be today, and yesterday, and tomorrow too. I would tell you their workloads are growing daily, and your cuts will stop that important and essential work. Those that are left will be overrun with need that they will be unable to meet. They will fail because of choices that you are making without transparency, equity, or even a plan. When did you last assist a child to read? When did you last provide a safe space for our students who are struggling? Our library assistants would answer today, this week, and tomorrow. They free up our librarians to help our teachers and students with IT issues, or they keep the libraries running when the library teacher must move into the classrooms to teach due to sub shortages. They are invaluable assets to our elementary schools, and if you go ahead with these cuts, you will fail our schools. I believe as an employee, a taxpayer, a mother of 2 Evergreen High School alumni, and a labor leader that the budget cuts you are proposing to make go against what is best practice, what is equitable, and even against the policies set down by each of you as a board. These cuts will cause future levies to fail, your constituents to lose what little faith remains, and ultimately your voters will be looking for new leadership that is in tune with our students' needs. If you continue on this course, it is certain that each of you will do irreparable harm.
Thank you, Mindy. All right, next up is Zatara Griffin. Hi there, welcome.
Hi, my name is Adrian Wright, and I'm representing Zatara Griffin because she was not able to make it today. Hi, my name is Zatara Griffin. I'm a sophomore at Evergreen High School, also the Black Student Union president. I first want to start by asking, how is this not affecting the student body when you're pulling our teachers away from us? That has direct connections with us. Replacing them with staff we see maybe once or twice a day. I'm trying to understand how a staff member can do an 8-hour job and also take another position that requires 8 hours or more and still give the same effect, focus, and attention. Paul Porter, my BSU advisor, also one of the few African American faces throughout our school, has helped not only me, but many students in this school to have a voice. When I walk past his room, I know I could go in there at any time, receive help or advice, and that is very reassuring. My question is, will I be able to go into a room and ask for a 20-minute chat, but may end up being an hour conversation and get the same focus I get from him? I don't think so, because you still have the original job you signed up for to take care of. You say it will force us to do more with less, but what's doing more? Limiting my access to people who have tried to set me up for success the moment I walked into the Evergreen High School? I've seen every one of the staff listed on this budget cut break their backs for students like me and around me. You wouldn't know this because you're not in the building. A decision is being made by faces I've never seen before, and the only input I get is a 3-minute speech and a survey that was not pushed out by our staff members. If our voices are being heard today, you would deny this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up is Judy Wittenberg. Judy? Oh, hi, Judy.
Good evening. I'm the teacher librarian at Mountain View High School. When you invested in our library equity refresh, you invested in students, teacher librarians, and teachers. Libraries are inherently about equity, access, and inclusion. We couldn't wait for students to come to the library to borrow the new books. So far this year, over 10 9th through 11th grade classroom teacher colleagues and I worked together, collaborating to provide relevant and inclusive learning experiences for all of our students. We consider students' interests, reading levels, racial and ethnic backgrounds, identities, neurodiversity, and students' 504 and IEP learning plans. I ask students, will you choose a mirror or a window book? A book that reflects your life and life experiences, or a book that reflects the lives and experiences of others? Those questions were infectious. It is challenging assessing the impact of this quiet equity work when it isn't visible on a stage or a playing field. My colleagues and I asked for summative feedback from students. Students' responses show the value of the work we are doing. The book, Don't Ask Me Where I'm From, by Jennifer De Leon, was a mirror book for some students. One student said, I just say I'm from Hawaii. I get so tired of those questions. People don't really understand, and it's not really known where I'm from. Another student who read a book about an author's adverse childhood remarked that knowing people go through that makes me want to help people. A theme among the level 3 student feedback data was that students saw themselves in their learning. Students said, the book has helped me feel less alone. It helped me see the same situation through someone else's eyes. Another theme was students learned from other people's experiences. Students said, be a better person and not care what others think. I never went through their journey. The book allowed me to have the courage to ask about their experiences. There's always more to learn, regardless of how much you think you know. And that was said by a 10th grader. This student learning is important, as understanding the human experience is fundamental to maintaining a democracy. Understanding perspectives is critical for civil discourse in a forum such as this, a school board meeting. I invite you and district leadership to visit our library classroom, listen to and center students' voices to inform your decision-making about Evergreen libraries. See for yourselves the ways teacher librarians serve all students and support best practice. In our library, every moment is an equity moment. The library supports equity, access, and inclusion in every corner of the school. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. All right, next up is Arthur Ban. Hi there, good evening.
My name is Arthur Ben, and first I just want to thank you guys for giving us your time to present what we have to say. And my main point in coming up here today is to talk from the heart of a student athlete and as a representation of an African American part of our population in our schools. And I just want to start by saying that I feel like the basis of these cuts and the process that they're going through is a little bit backwards, because everybody who's having a say in the process of committing the cuts is looking at it from a perspective of outside in and judging the impact of the students from the perspective of someone who's already on a higher level of, like, farther away from students. And for me personally, as an athlete, the positions that are being cut, such as my athletic director / head coach of football, Christian Swain, and my basketball coach, Paul Porter, is extremely close to me, because from when I started here, I didn't know anybody at all, because I moved from outside this area. And Coach Swain, throughout the years that I've been at Evergreen, I'm a junior right now, has helped me so much through being a young man and learning things of, if I was having an issue personally outside of school, I knew that I walked past his office every single day, and if I ever had an issue, I could go up to him and talk to him about it. And obviously on the sports side as well, getting me to a point where now I have many college opportunities. When coming in, I didn't even know where I was going to be going in that direction. And I just feel like it's kind of sugarcoating it to say that it's not, you're trying to do cuts that aren't directly affecting students, because I think it's very clear to everyone in the building that cutting the people who are inside of the buildings, not saying that the board positions are important or the higher up positions are important, but cutting the positions that are as close to the students as possible, and the people who the students go to when they're having issues, or the people who directly help the students, who have their numbers, who are constantly in contact with them, and their main support system isn't equal to maybe lowering the salary or lowering the amount of income that someone at a level outside of school that students don't really have any connection to could have an effect on. And I feel like it's also a sort of unfair targeting, because the people who are being selected for these budget cuts are people who may rely on that pay, and it's going to be harder for them to adjust that, because some people might be out of a job. And for people who are already getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, I feel like they can take that cut more and still be able to, proceed in doing their duties for the school district. And that's everything I have to say. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Christina? Christina?
Hi, my name is Christina Lara Chea. I'm the teacher librarian at Frontier Middle School. I've known since I was in the 3rd grade that this is what I wanted to do, and I worked really hard my entire life to get here. I was the first student in my middle school to want to be a teacher librarian, like an aide as a class period, and so I kind of started that at my middle school. I was a library aide in my high school. Guess where I worked when I was in college? So I've known that this is what I wanted to do. So what's a teacher librarian to do when she finds out after 25 years that her job is being cut? But write a book. So I wrote a book, and I sent this book to you on email today, so you can follow along and see all the student pictures. I brought a couple of students with me today, so I'm going to let them introduce themselves as they read this book. And I signed up all 3 of us, so we should have 9 minutes together. Okay.
Hi, my name is Makasia Lara Chea. I'm an 8th grader in Frontier Middle School, and I'm her daughter.
Hi, I'm Kylie Smith, and I'm a 6th grader at Frontier Middle School. Yeah.
If you give a student a teacher librarian, dedicated to all the teacher librarians everywhere, making a difference in students' lives every day. Every situation mentioned in this book is happening in EPS libraries across the district. And with imagination, references, Lauren Numeroff's If You Give a Mouse a Cookie book, and Mo Willems' We're in a Book. If you give a student a teacher librarian, of course, the student will want to get a book from the library.
So the student will go to the library to get a book, but first she will need to get a Chromebook, and the teacher librarian will help her get set up on her device.
Then she'll notice All the students gathered in the makerspace and will want to join on the project to print her own bookmark on the 3D printer.
When the first bell rings, the teacher librarian will offer to walk her to class since she is headed that way to help a substitute teacher with some technology already.
There, the teacher librarian, having already collaborated with the science teacher, will give the class a short lesson on using stock images for the brochures they will create with an SUP, a Hawaiian company, on the ways to reduce toxin in sunscreen for ethical ocean use.
The student will go to social studies and find that the teacher librarian has come in to teach the students how to set up their own infographics to use for their posters on social justice issues.
Excited by these new technology applications, the student will receive guidance from her Spanish teacher and the teacher librarian as she assembles a Wii video and a book creator book video to be read aloud for the dual immersion elementary school next door.
In art class, she will beam as she watches a short video of the teacher librarian reminding everyone about the district bookmark contest that she can't wait to enter.
At lunch, she will go into the library with some new friends and see that this month's interactive graffiti wall involves using a large map to pin students' Hispanic family heritage and write a small introduction about their families for everyone to see.
Taking in all the posters in the library, she will spot a sign-up sheet for pickleball tournament at the teacher librarian is hosting through the PTO to earn money for the library to buy books. And she signs up when the teacher librarian and her new friends assure her that they will teach her.
While talking with the teacher librarian, her new friends will catch up on stamping their book bingo cards, and she learns that if she gets a stamp in each square, there's a special field trip at the end of the year to go and buy books for the library.
Then her new friends will show her the cool pens, pencils, erasers, books, and posters in the library PBIS store, telling her it's like a mini Scholastic book fair where she can buy items with the points she earns just by following the school's 4 main principles. Be safe, responsible, respectful, and kind. She will spy a basketball pen that she knows her brother would love.
As the lunch bell rings, she asks about the Starbucks display in the entryway and learns that by reading one of the books highlighted that month, that she can earn a special prize cup.
In the student's 5th period class, she will apply her knowledge of identifying mis- and disinformation on social media with a Kahoot game created by the teacher librarian.
Her last class is English Language Arts, and class will be held in the library as the teacher librarian will instruct the class in a book tasting activity by having the students rotate through several tables, and there will also be book trailers available to help her narrow her choices.
The book trailers, some of which are student-made ones from previous years, will inspire her to ask her teacher librarian for help finding the genre shelf of her book and checking it out. Finally, a book she will want to start reading now.
Which is why if you give a student a teacher librarian, they will read a book at a school board meeting to make sure everyone knows how much teacher librarians impact student lives every day.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up is Marvin Thomas. Marvin? He's not here. All right, Kimberly Warren. Hey, Kimberly. Hi.
Good evening. I'm Kimberly Warren. My topic is a little bit.
Oh, yeah, the microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good evening. My name is Kimberly Warren, and I am a parent for students in the district. My topic's a little bit different than the ones that have been shared. The current sexual health curriculum being taught by Evergreen School District is not providing transparency to parents and guardians. And the flash curriculum needs to be replaced. Non-factual and controversial material is being taught with this curriculum and is robbing our children of their innocence. One example from the material being taught to 4th through 6th graders, typically 9 to 12-year-olds, is in Lesson 11, page 3 from the Flash curriculum. Quote, "Some people decide with the help of their doctor to take medicine or hormones to change puberty on purpose to better match their gender. They might take medicine that interferes with hormones so puberty changes don't happen at all. Or they might take medicine made of hormones so that they have specific changes." And the material for 7th graders and up has even more explicit material. What is actually in the material, and not just the puberty section, is not clearly being expressed to parents. When parents do try to seek out information about this material that is being taught, the sexual education site on the district website is hard to navigate and difficult to even locate through the Evergreen School District main website. Also, there are currently only 2 preview nights to review the material. Even though the curriculum was adopted from King County, it does not make it right to be taught to children. The district should not be telling our children that they may not have been created correctly and may need to change who they are. And the district should not be suggesting medication that alters the natural course of puberty and has the potential for irreversible consequences. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kimberly. All right, Sierra. Hi, Sierra.
Hi there, my name's Sierra. I work at Weiss Middle School. I am an advocate, and I am non-binary and autistic, and I just want to add that context. I have some good news today for you. I know this has kind of been a rough time for everybody. I saw that just about 4 days ago, the Senate committee released their new budget for schools. And I think all of you are very aware of this at this point. It's been 5 days now, almost. $5.1 billion, including $2.9 billion towards the state's public schools, $353 million for special education services, and $106 million for affordable early learning. We also have $525 million for educator salaries and healthcare costs, $250 million to support the child care workforce, and $59 million to expand food access in schools and more. Senator Rolfe said, especially the special education boost is important. That's funding that schools have been spending, but taking out of the levies, so it's actual, real relief. I have some statements from the governor that were released. We have K-12 education supporting, so the new budget that was released from the Senate, supporting the educator workforce. Teachers and school staff foster the academic growth and well-being of over 1 million students across Washington. The governor recognizes this monumental task, and his budget includes $950 million to support K-12 compensation, increase teacher residencies, expand mentoring for beginning teachers, and provide additional teacher academies, support student academic, social, emotional supports, student food security, equity in education, so improving special education services, and invest in peer-to-peer supports for staff members. I am delighted to know that I will be I'm getting my certification, so I was planning on leaving my position anyway. I'm getting my certification. I'm very excited because one of the things that I heard when attending a couple of the events here at the school district was that there wasn't a good outlook for educators. So I'm very excited to hear about this funding, and I hope that it impacts all of the people that are impacted by these decisions. Our students are invaluable to our futures, and even though enrollment is declining, we have a lot of good things to look forward to, and I really hope that we can figure out how to make it work. It's not new. I'm not going to repeat what everyone else has said, so thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sierra. All right, and our last person signed up this evening is Jenny Bertaska. Is that? Oh. What was the name? We'll add it after Jenny, okay?
Hello, school board members. My name is Jenny Vertiska, and I have 2 children in the Evergreen School District. I am here to voice my concerns about proposed changes that will have a significant impact on my family. The first concern is the drastic change in start and release times for the middle school next year. My daughter is a student athlete who participates in track through her middle school and basketball through an extracurricular team. She was able to participate in both of those sports simultaneously this year because the current release time allowed for an after-school activity, homework, dinner, and then her basketball practice. With the change in start and release times, we are afraid that her after-school sport next year will not be completed until 6 p.m., which leaves time to only have dinner and complete any necessary schoolwork. This prevents our child from participating in an additional sport that she loves and has invested a lot into. The decision to change the start release times was not discussed with families and is not something that we want. The second concern is the significant cuts to student-facing services. Both of my children have benefited from these services through reading interventionists, the amazing librarians, and the Excel program. The public was warned that if we do not pass the last levy, then these services would be eliminated. We passed the levy, and you are still eliminating these services. This is a violation of our trust. Please find other areas that are truly non-student facing that can be reduced. These changes are not appealing to families who are looking to relocate to the area. My family moved here because of the great schools and services the district provided. If we were looking to move today and heard that you were cutting athletic directors, librarians, student support services, and changing the start release times, we would not have relocated here. We would have found a district that saw the value in these services and made sure that the students could benefit from them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jenny. All right, we have one last speaker. All right, go ahead and give us, since you didn't have your name on the sign-up, will you give us your name?
Good evening, I'm Keegan Windy. I'm a sophomore student athlete from Evergreen High School. And today I'll be speaking on behalf of our athletic director and our at-risk advocates. Our athletic director, Christian Swain, has taken on one of the biggest roles in our school. As a football coach, he's been in the role of a father figure to me and my teammates. He showed us how to grow and develop not just as football players, but as young, respectable men. Coach Swain doesn't just deal with football. He also helps kids earn scholarships and make sure they can graduate and have a good career after high school. Our culture at Evergreen is one of our biggest values, and Coach Swain is the driving factor of it. Coach Swain has told us it's not the school that makes it special, it's the people inside of it. Letting go of our at-risk advocates, multilingual paras, and counselors would be devastating to the Evergreen culture we're trying to build. In our school, there are a lot of kids whose first language isn't English, so how are they going to get a good education when they have no one to help them understand? One of our at-risk coaches, Paul Porter, is in the school building for almost 13 hours every day. He is also a boys basketball coach. He's one of the most humble and selfless men I've ever met. He puts the kids before himself and the things he personally wants to do. He has stayed with me in the gym just to get shots early in the morning or after practice late at night. He's a person I can always talk to if I'm having a bad day or my grades start to slip. He'll call me down to the office to make sure everything's okay. He's also our Black Student Union advisor, and he uses his social media platform to speak on social issues. He plans the BSU events and shows, and due to how active our Black Student Union is, it helped grow our Black community closer together. There are many more important and culture-changing people working in our school whose jobs are at risk. Without just these two in our building, it would be detrimental to the community we worked hard to build. Christian Swain and Paul Porter have worked hard to make our school a community and not just a building. Thank you for the time, and I hope that you take what I've spoken into consideration when the final decision is made.
Thank you. All right, I want to thank everyone for speaking this evening. Now, next on the agenda is matters reserved for board action, resolution number 6771, reduced educational program. I'm going to turn this over to Superintendent Boyd for introduction.
Thank you. Yes, resolution 6671, modified educational program, is placed on the agenda for board approval. The resolution includes the estimated staff FTE reductions at each building, level, and district office. The adoption of the resolution is required in order to move forward with the reduction in force, the RIF staffing process. The approval of the resolution does not necessarily mean that those specific reductions will occur, but gives the district the ability to implement them as allowable. It takes months to work out all the details. The board and the superintendent can decide to make changes to the budget up until the final version is adopted in August. The public hearing and adoption of the 2023-24 F195 budget will take place on August 22nd after a budget presentation on August 8th.
All right, thanks, John. All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for board comment and questions.
I want to be real, just make sure I understand this completely. By approving this resolution, it does allow for changes to be made. I mean, I haven't, and I apologize, I've been out of town, so I don't know about any conversations that have happened. Since we have the numbers from the legislature, how does that impact our numbers? I also, we've had some people write in with some different suggestions about things that maybe could be done. And I feel like after hearing the people in the last couple board meetings, I really would like to have an opportunity for us to have more discussion together as a board, maybe in a workshop or something, to see about, just to go through these things piece by piece. So, yeah. I'm not saying it's going to be a big change here, because the fact of the matter is, unlike, I'm a business owner, and if I want to make more money, I can go out and make more money, but it's not that way in school districts. So, the money is what it is. But I also don't want to disregard anything. And so I'm fine with this as long as it's not just, this is it, this is the final answer. I just want to know that we can have more discussion as a board about this.
So I'll just, maybe, and then John can answer, but so the 6671, the resolution for tonight, is just so that the work can get done in case we have to reduce the workforce, because there's certain timelines that go into play. But as John mentioned, the final budget and revisions can be made all the way up until we finalize the final budget, which is in August. We don't know exactly. There was good news that came out of legislation this week. We don't know exactly what that will turn out for us, or if it's even finalized, right? Or I don't know if we know that number. Yeah.
So we still have the House to go through.
Exactly. So it is good news, and hopefully they come through, and we'll know exactly what that will mean for us. But that's part of the issue is this time of year is they're doing the budget in Olympia, and we're having to make tough decisions as we near the end of the school year, because we have to put things in motion regardless of that. But we can make revisions all the way up until August, and I would agree that we could continue to have the conversation.
So continuing to have the conversation in terms of between now and then, talking about what these cuts look like, what the actual plan is for plugging these holes we're creating, looking at the demographics of who we're cutting and who that's affecting. Is that what Victoria, is that what you're talking about?
That's part of it, for sure. I just want to make sure that we have just looked under every rock to find And I know you guys have been working so hard on this. I mean, this has been really difficult. And, you know, contrary to popular belief, I think, we've been planning for this for a long time. And when you're planning in a situation that is there's nothing positive about having a decreased enrollment, not having the funding that you need. Those are our reality, and we have been working for it, and we've been talking about it very openly in our meetings and to our labor groups and all of that. This has not been just a sudden, oh my gosh, we suddenly have this thing happening. And so we just need to have still more time to make sure that the road we go down, if the worst case scenario comes into play, we've made sure that this is what we.
Yeah, and I think,
right thing to
and the resolution tonight is really just about being able to do the work behind the scenes in order. I think in the past, when we've had to make cuts, a lot of people have been able to be placed through attrition. I don't know that that's necessarily what it will turn out and look like, but it's a big system with a lot of employees and a lot of moving parts, and so I think we have to kind of give it the time to see where we're at the end of the school year.
Yeah, last year we cut, I think, 150 positions, and all but 3 or 4 were able to land a position in the district or find other employment.
So maybe it would be a good idea, because this goes through a year-long process, and we begin talking about next year's budget in September of the previous year. What happened after we announced budget cuts in time for these deadlines last year, could you describe that a little bit about what it is that the ASC, the HR department, and you and the other leaders did to find places for the people who were displaced?
I would have to refer to Janae Gomes to describe the process that is used to find placements for people. Janae, could you come forward and speak to that?
Oh, there she is.
Good evening. For attrition, so we will have employees that will ask for a leave of absence. There will be resignations, retirement, and whenever that occurs, then we do our best to be able to then put an employee into that position that's being vacated. So just through the process from the employees, through leave of absences and attrition.
Can I ask Janae a quick question? Can you kind of go through the process of what and why we're doing this now because of the contracts and the reasoning behind us doing this putting out the RIFs, just so that it's kind of understanding as to why we're doing this vote now instead of in August when we actually make the final. You're the expert on that stuff.
Yeah, so on the certificated side, we have a May 15th deadline that we have to adhere to, and we are such a large system that it takes quite some time in order to navigate all of the moving parts in order to be able to figure out at the end if there will be notices for non-renewals or reductions for continuing employees. And it's that May 15th deadline, that is the date that we work backwards from.
That deadline is laid out in the contract as well as, I think, state law. I think it's in statute, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. I was just thinking about for the private sector, the Washington state law for notice of a layoff is 60 days, and this is a lot longer.
Yeah, the other thing I guess I would also add to that is if somebody does receive a non-renewal or a RIF notice to Superintendent Boyd's point, then, and we're able to place them, then we're able to rescind that, and we work with the employee through the end of August through that process.
Okay.
Thank you, Janae.
I imagine there's not a lot that can be guaranteed until you have the retirements and the leaves of absence and the other departures on record.
That is correct. And there are deadlines that we follow throughout the collective bargaining agreements. An example would be employees for requesting a leave of absence is March 15th. And so, we have an idea through that of so far who's been asking. And just recently, we're starting to get more resignations and retirements. So that's, we'll start laying out that process and figuring that out.
Jackie, did you have something?
Well, so the bottom line is we have to cut $19 million. And every position in our district affects students. Everybody here works for students in the administrative office, at the bottom level in terms of people who are substitutes. And I'm not saying they're the bottom level, what I'm saying is at every single level of our district. And there are no easy cuts. I've struggled looking at this list for the past several weeks. And listening to, I've read every email, I've listened to phone calls. One of my struggles is looking at who we are cutting in terms of the demographics and how that seems to play out over and over again. And the process that we go through we want to be transparent with the community. We're not making an effort to hide things from the community. But for some reason, it seems like we come back to the same point each time in terms of we end up back in the same place with the same populations being affected the most when we have to make cuts. And so if we're going to make cuts, as we continue from here through August, I would like to see what kind of process we can go through to make sure that those populations are represented as we make those decisions. How are we going to do that?
The process that we currently follow when we're looking at employees in the collective bargaining agreement is we follow seniority.
So one of the things that I would, and I know that we've done a fantastic job in the district throughout the years, is trying to find the best placement for people as we have retirements and resignations and some of the other things. And I would ask that we continue to do so in this process, and that we keep our good employees and we keep them in places where they can continue to serve students the best. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
I think to that end, that if that's the context is as permission to proceed with the statutory requirements and the deadlines that are laid out in the contracts, that I can support the resolution if we find a way together to open up a dialogue with folks, to watch the legislature and see what they can do, recognizing that all the stakeholders have a stake in it. And I don't know today what form that could or should take, but it's clear that the community wants to give input. And
Yeah, I think that I think a lot of it's going to depend on how much actual funding we get, and then what that number is that we're going to have to cut in the end.
and whether or not the funding is categorized for a specific purpose, which would limit our flexibility. Any disagreements or refinements that you'd like to offer? John? Any disagreements or refinements in that idea that you'd like to offer?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, at this point, there's for the board to make comments right now, but I will comment on the fact that, and I know that people have been working behind the scenes to make sure that on some of the recommendations that are in the proposal, that we do have a plan moving forward to make sure we continue programs, that we continue the work that's being done. So more to come on that, more will come out.
And I think the public work that we're beginning to do with the strategic plan, given all of the community input that's gone into that, could help us continue to describe who we are and why we make decisions this way, and what the requirements are. And I'm hoping that we won't lose sight of that work either.
And we have May 9th as the date set right now for the strategic plan presentation.
Right.
When is the legislative session over? End of April? Is that the?
I don't know the specific date, but it's the long session, so it's 120 days from a date in January or February. No, it was January.
That will be part of the key to all of this too.
Yeah.
So,
And I would recommend that people contact our legislators because they're the ones that hold the purse strings. And that's something we've been talking about for a while is we've been up there advocating. We regularly interact with our legislators as a board. But the community, it's really important. And I'll tell you what, they love to hear from students. And they like to hear the stories as to what certain, like if we have to make cuts, what that means to you as a student. And so, because I know when we go up there with students, they listen to the students before they listen to us sometimes because they want to hear from you. So that would be a big help for people to do that.
Encouraging all the emails that have been sent in to us for you to forward them on to them as well.
all right, so Rob, was that a motion or do you want to make a motion?
When a motion is required,
Yes.
then yes, under the conditions that we're laying out, I will move approval of this.
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
All right, thank you. All right. Resolution 6671 passes. We'll go ahead and move on in the agenda to informational items. We have a financial statement for February. It's just for review. Next up is board comments or comments by the school board. If anybody has anything, I just want to start off by saying that I appreciate all of the students that came and advocated tonight. We do, Victoria said about taking students to Olympia and having them advocate for our legislators. We enjoy listening to you too, and very well articulated, and thank you for coming tonight and presenting to us.
Yeah, it's, go ahead, Vic.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, usually there's a handful of people out here in the audience, and a lot gets said, and, things happen, the work keeps, goes on. So it actually, contrary to what it may seem, it's good when we have a room full of people who are hearing what it is that that we're talking about and the decisions that we have to make. Because none of these are easy decisions. And so many things that happen in our capacity as board directors and elected officials, a lot of the public doesn't really realize how long we're dealing with certain matters and how long it takes to move things through the system. So thank you for being here and being a part of the process, because you are part of the process with us.
Not yet.
Well, we're done with public comments for.
Actually, we are there.
After.
Oh, let's not start this.
Hey.
It'll turn it into an illegal meeting.
After the meeting, we can probably come and talk to you, but not during the meeting. We're done with public comments. Thank you.
I wanted to talk a little about the emails that we've gotten in the last week. And, last time I said that this question arose from all the emails, and it's like you're eliminating positions held by people we love. What's going to happen to those people? What's going to happen to us? How do we do school without those roles? And I really believe that the funding reductions, just finding $4 million, let alone 19, would require us to reimagine something. And my hope is that we can move from our state of grief and try to imagine it together. That the community, you and we, can continue the conversation as we've called for. and that you'll continue to be engaged and participate in the process, which is not over until August. The emails from the last week carried the same kind of thing. It's like we're still, as a community, in this space of how are we going to do school without these people and without these positions. And I've heard some reassurances today that today is not the end, that the people doing HR are going to try and find positions for those who are affected. And in the past, they've been very successful at that. It's a fact that, how do I put this? It's a fact that they care and that they will try as hard as they can to keep the people close to the students who are close to the students. And we'll be watching for that, I think, more closely than in previous years. But yeah, once we adjourn, yeah, come up and talk to us. And that's all. It's just the sentiment is still grief and pain, and I'm hoping that we can move out of that and into a place where we build hope for students and their families.
All right, thanks, Rob. Jenny, Jack, anything else? Victoria, anything else? Nope. How about anything from our student reps?
Hi, thank you. I just want to say thank you to everybody who showed up today, especially the students. I know that it's not easy to come up and say something about something that bothers you, and I know it's nerve-wracking to come up here. And I'm not an athlete personally, but I know that if my band director was getting cut, I would have something to say, and I'm really glad that you guys said something and made a point about something that meant a lot to you. I think that takes a lot of courage, and I'm very thankful that you guys had something to say.
Thanks, Sullivan. Yeah. All right, next on the agenda, future agenda items. I think we have some work to do that we've a lot of close watching in the next couple of months. All right, well, with that, we will call for an adjournment. We're going to sign papers. Thank you for attending. We appreciate it.